All right, be right back, guys. I'm gonna chuck myself out the window. Yo, we just literally spent 30 minutes in this very in-depthful conversation about what it means or what it's like to be in a relationship with another adoptee and like the pros and cons of it. And it's just
it's a bummer because we didn't press record.
I know, and that hasn't happened to us, and I don't think ever really.
But I actually kind of want to pause on that.
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe we could do that next week because I really like where you were going just now, if that's okay. Like kind of loyalty.
I think we should just go with that because if we go with that next week,
you'll think on it.
Yeah, and I don't want to think on it. A lot of this is just coming out very pure, very like raw, real, and just blunt and honest, to be honest.
So really quick, let me just
pose the question.
Yes, but I just want to thank people because that's what we did in the last
one. Yeah.
I just really want to take a minute to thank everybody who's been listening, who's been interacting with us, whether it be text message or email or phone call or Instagram or TikTok or anything. It's been really nice hearing feedback, whether it's cool feedback, whether it's stuff you don't agree with, whether it's suggestions. Yeah. And that's been really cool. And
yeah, from me personally, from the bottom of my heart, like I am truly, truly, truly grateful to you guys who have listened and who talk about it and respond to us. Like truly, 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 like it means so much to me. Like I can't even express to you how much it means. Just know that I love you and you are so welcomed and in my life and everything. Like I'm just so blessed. I can't even find words to express how I'm feeling about that.
I think it was nice earlier what you said is that it means a lot to you because a lot of the things we talk about is
very scary for me because I feel like I'm the only one who has these feelings, and a lot of these things that I hear, especially in the adoptive community, I feel like I'm an outcast. I feel like I'm an idiot. I feel like I'm not smart, and I feel very alone. And so when I get on this podcast and we talk about these things, especially relating to adoptees or being adopted, it's scary because I feel like I'm the only one, and I'm terrified that somebody who's adopted is gonna really like lash out at me or just say like you're completely wrong or how dare you, and it's just like I don't know.
I think that's why there's sometimes it's very emotional, whether it's like very angry comes off as sounding angry or very intense. It's because it is very emotional. It is very intense. There are a lot of feelings, a lot of things that are kind of have been kept in our whole lives, whether it's hearing things from, like Sam was saying earlier, other adoptees or just people who aren't adopted who have maybe misconceptions about being adopted. So it is nice to kind of have a platform to just talk on some of these subjects.
Yeah.
And a high and low of this week, a high for me was learning all these new different ways how to treat a cold. So this whole week I've been sick, and usually the same cold I get every year, it sets me back like 3 weeks. But I'm a little congested right now, but not as bad. And I learned how to do this thing called a honeyon pot, where you take an onion and you carve out the top and you put honey in it and you let it sit for 9 hours. Then you drink the juices that come from it.
Honeyon.
And also kind of like this orange recipe to help your cough. It's you take an orange and you steam it in the microwave for a minute, and you also put salt on it, and then right before you put it in the microwave, and then you squeeze everything out, put some honey in it, and you take that.
That smelled like gross.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't taste that good. I also did onion water. I learned all these recipes from Posh Mama on TikTok. I know she's been going viral this year talking about different antibiotics and how you can make them like home remedies, and I just think it's super cool. So that was my high and low. Like definitely a bummer getting sick, but a high was learning all these new things and taking them very serious because I was like, please fix me.
Yeah, and a high and low for me was just this morning not waking up early enough to get Maya's after school programs in the books. And being kind of woken up by her mom calling me, and I feel really bad because I've been anticipating it all week and I missed it. But the high is we got it all, for the most part, figured out. I'm still crossing my fingers. Pray for me, guys, that everything works out on Monday, because I got to call the after school program and just triple check that she has an after school activity every day this week, because I'm going to flip out if we don't, because it's really tough. It's really tough to manage work and being a parent at the same time, on top of doing the things that you love to do and that are long-term goals in your life.
In most schools, you don't have to pay for after school programs. This one you do, and it has its pros and cons, I'll say that. But yes, especially it is a little nerve-wracking because school gets out early and work obviously isn't done before then. So it's a lot of juggling things, so definitely crossing our fingers. But yeah, like we said earlier, we had a suggestion to talk about what it's like dating an adoptee. And I was kind of thinking back to the original like heart of it, of how can I compare to not dating an adoptee, and I haven't really had another serious relationship other than like one other one, but I feel like I was taking it a bit more serious than it really was. And so I don't really have like, I guess, a lot to compare to, but I will tell you the benefits that I see. And yeah, we can just kind of talk about that. I guess
one cool thing about that is that I can, somebody else who's brown can understand where I'm coming from in the dynamic of living in New York City. Because you would think that New York City, because there's so many different varieties of people, that they would all be accepting. Well, in fact, a lot of it is very opposite. There's a lot of racism that goes on. There's a lot of stereotyping. There's a lot of judgment that goes on. For example, if I walk into a building, there's like 90% chance that the doorman will think I'm a delivery boy going up or here to make a delivery. And little shit like that pisses me the fuck off. So it's nice being able to express that to you, who also is brown, who might be a subject to other things, because there aren't really that many delivery girls. But I don't know, if you're in a laundromat or something, somebody would assume something.
The last building we were in, when we had laundry, a lot of other people would think like that I was a maid for somebody in that building when I was really just doing my laundry.
Yeah, so it's like stuff like that,
or
especially
when people just, I guess, assume that you speak Spanish.
And get offended because I don't, which is a whole beast within itself, because I get very is it weird? Is it all right? I'm just gonna say something maybe super controversial, but forgive me. I'm a very confused, lost person, and if you can maybe tell me something that I don't know, or tell me in a way that help me understand, please do, because I'm always open to learning and changing my perspective. But when somebody gets offended, when they come into me and they speak Spanish and I tell them I don't speak Spanish and they get upset, my first thought is, this is fucking America, and why don't you understand English? I don't understand that. Why are you getting mad at me because I'm just living my fucking life? I was adopted. I'm not going to tell you my whole life story because you haven't earned that. You don't deserve that from me. I don't know who you are, and don't ever dare get mad at me. It's disgusting. Sorry. But like that right there, that was just like, I've never really said that out loud in a public setting my whole entire life. And I've dealt with that growing up in New York City my whole entire life. Ever since I was able to walk on my own without my mom, I've been dealing with that. Telling me that, like, I see older Hispanic women telling me, oh, you should learn Spanish. You don't learn Spanish. Like, no, the fuck I shouldn't. I shouldn't learn Spanish because this is America and I want to be able to speak English in my country that I live. Like, why do I need to speak Spanish just because I look Spanish? I don't feel Spanish. I don't know. So sorry, guys. I don't mean to offend anybody, but this is how I feel, and it's very, very, very sensitive topic.
I don't think you need to apologize. I think everybody has their own opinions on that, and it's how you feel in the moment when somebody gets mad because you don't speak their language, and vice versa. It's
because they no habla español. They look at me like, oh, you think you're better than me? Dude, who the fuck told you to come talk to me? Like, seriously. Yeah. Like, I'm just minding my own. God damn. I have to leave like I'm a fucking villain. Like I said some bullshit to you out of nowhere. dude,
It's very
like
harsh here. Like New York City is no like in Minnesota. I've never gotten into really any conflict, but here it's just
I've
man, I'm just
I've
like walking on eggshells.
birthed in this conflict, so I'm very like versatile to this bullshit. I like that's why this such anger comes out of me, because like
Yeah,
I'm just so used to this crap.
yeah. It's not easy. It's definitely walking on eggshells sometimes in New York. Not sometimes. The second you walk out your door, kind
Yeah,
of just
so
preparing and
and
waiting.
I come from a very interesting perspective where because of all that stuff that's happened, I judge, especially specifically like Mexican or South American, indigenous South Americans. I judge you. Like I judge you because I don't know what you're feeling about me, and because of all these negative interactions that I've had with your kin, I feel as though that I am on edge with when I see like at first glance. Obviously, when I talk to you and you're really cool and chill, my perspective will completely change
Your guard
because,
goes down.
and my guard completely goes down. I'm super more open, but that's because of me, and that's a lesson that I've always internally tried to teach myself from like my mid-20s till now, is to always be a student of life, be a student of the game of life, and always having my opinions change and fluctuate, because I know that the moment my opinions are stagnant is the moment that I turn into a very ignorant person, and I never want to be an ignorant person. And I know with age comes ignorance, I think, because that's when you start to repetitively build your own perception of the world, and I am so against that. I always want to learn and be inundated with stuff, because at the end of the day, I don't ever want to cause anybody pain, or I don't want to cause anybody discomfort. I just want to enjoy my life, find the things that I find to make me happy, and hope that everyone, and support everyone else's journey on being happy themselves. I know that sounds super like upbeat and happy, but like that's the reality. I don't want to ruffle feathers to a certain degree. I don't want to, but at the same time, like I'm trying to get mine. I'm trying to trying to find my happiness. And when somebody, like for example, when somebody gets offended because I don't know Spanish, I'm not going to
It's not
roll
even getting
over
offended too. It's actually getting angry or mad at you,
because
and
they
I
think I'm like better.
that's
They're like, who, oh, okay. Who are you?
yeah.
Like, oh, you don't know Spanish? What? Like, no, I don't know fucking Spanish. Like, the fuck? Dude, I'm just trying to go to 79th Street. I'm just trying to get the one train. Like, what the fuck? Yeah, but I'm equally not going to take that disrespect. I'm not going to roll over and just like smile, even though somebody said like looks disrespected. I'll be like, yo, get that smirk off your face. Get that frown off your fucking face. Don't ever fucking disrespect me. Like, I'm sorry, I'm going to be like that. Like, I'm not going to let somebody do that to me and just like have me live with that. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's just being a New Yorker, but I don't
Definitely, I
like
think
that.
that's being a
I
New
don't like
Yorker.
that. I don't, yeah, because it
But a
makes
lot
me
of the
feel
time-
bad. You know how you feel bad and you don't say nothing and you hold on to that all the way home and it just eats you up all
Yeah.
night? I'm not like
You'd
that. I
rather just
throw
say
that
right
all
there.
out there.
Yeah.
Like, get that fucking grin off your face. Like, get the fuck out of my face. I'm not trying to disrespect your life. You go that way, I'm gonna go this way, and we're gonna have a good day. Okay, cool, got it. Like that's how
Yeah.
I am. That's the kind of person I am. But
It's a lot easier to deal with that because you're getting it off your chest first, but it is definitely sounds like very
it's scary because you're going off of how you feel in the moment, and you could
Yes,
potentially
yes.
go a little too far. So you have to be
Yeah.
a little bit more reserved. I always try and do that Joe Rogan thing, where because like I know I've started to train myself where I know that there are people who are watching us this go down.
Yeah.
So how and how I'm perceived is very important to me
And I think
personally.
it's crazy because like right now you're saying how you're saying it is not necessarily how you do it, because how you actually do it and how you are, you're very vocal and vocal and the smartest, most articulate way, and you'll say what you mean, but you're articulate and not kind, but nicely.
My
rude
niceness
about
will
it.
dictate how the person is responsive.
Yeah,
to
but you're not like as aggressive. Like, who the fuck you looking at? Nah, you're like, excuse me. Like, do you have a problem with me? Because the way you're looking is not, A, B, or
Yeah, I'd be
C.
like, "Can I help you?" Like, what? Oh no, because you look kind of upset. I just did something I say offend you. If so, I'd just like to know because
And people don't.
and they're like, "What?
Yeah,
No,"
they're
and I'm
not
like, "Okay, I
expecting
just
that.
wanted to ask because I don't want to." If there's something that you didn't understand or something that you took negatively, I'd like to take the time to express to you more specifically and articulately how I feel about the situation that just went down. That's what I'd
And
say.
nobody is used to that. because people are so used to people just being so angry like an animal and just going like animalistic off on somebody and then the other person just walking away. And it is kind of nice, and I'm trying super hard to learn from
Yeah,
that.
because sometimes people like they, especially minority men, from my experience, like, you know, when I got into a fight with like this African American dude, an Amazon guy, like a
He
few
was a
blocks
delivery
away.
guy.
Yeah, and he was blasting his music and he was looking at a girl with a fat ass going down the street, and I was finishing my run and I was trying to, I was literally walking him from I saw him the whole block, and I was just walking, and he just kind of was looking at the girl, trying to talk to her like, hey mom, let me get your number, like, oh, she got a fat ass, like talking to himself and stuff, blasting his music. I'm just like, all right, whatever. We go through a scaffolding area where there's bars on the side, so it's like I had no opportunity, and the cars were tightly packed together, so going to their side of the block, I'm like, whatever, like I'm just gonna keep trying to go through there. And I end up trying to, the sidewalk, and he ends up pulling the cart and just kind of like trying to pull the cart, and I just try and squeak by, and my elbow taps the cart a little bit, and he said, hey, like, what the fuck, I'm walking, I'm trying, don't you see me trying to move the cart? And I look back at him and I'm like, yo, there's not, why you gotta use that kind of language, like, I'm sorry. And he's like, did you fucking just say something? What the fuck did you say? And I'm just like, yo, I don't understand why I have to use this kind of language when I'm sorry. Why are we still talking about this? Like, genuine question. And he was just like, how about I come over there and like fucking fuck you up, and how about that? And what we have to say there? I'm like, all right, man, you want to act like a primitive fucking Neanderthal? Go ahead, man, go ahead. If you're gonna punch me in the face, I'm gonna let you punch me in the face, and what's gonna happen is the police are gonna get called, because somebody's gonna fucking call the police, because I'm gonna be fucking my jaw's gonna be popped right there, I'm gonna be on the fucking ground, and you're gonna go to fucking jail, bro. If that's how you want your fucking Sunday to go out, to play out, then you go ahead, let that be. But I'm not gonna fucking let you get the best of me and try and fight you for what? Because I knocked your cart, dude. Like, are you kidding me?
And apologized.
Yeah, and what's wild is that to few other like white people, like few other people were just like, they got offended by him, so offended that literally another girl was sitting on the stoop, and he was looking at her. He's like, what are you looking at? And she's like, I'm not doing shit. What the fuck?
No, he tried to apologize to her.
Yeah. Oh yeah, good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm not doing shit, I'm just talking to my friend.
Because
Like,
he went up to her and was like, I'm so sorry about that, blah, 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 blah. Like, you know, I'm so sorry you had to sit there and hear that kind of talk.
she just went
to somebody
off
else.
on him.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yeah, because that was OD.
She's FaceTiming a friend and was just like, yo, I'm not even fucking talking to you. I'm talking to my friend right now. Like, dude, fuck off the way you talk to that dude. Who you think you are? And like stood up, and
that was like a huge like validation moment in my mind, because I'm just like, you know, I after I always kind of like think about like what went down and why it is that I did what I did or said what I said. Like there's always stuff I could do better. But right there, that was validation that I wasn't necessarily in the wrong. Like, the dude just went off on me. But I'm not going to be a chump, and like, for my own peace of mind too, you know, I think it's important for my daughter, or, you know, if I had a son, to see that, you know, there are ways that you can conduct yourself, that you do not have to buckle under somebody who is trying to bully you or is trying to walk on top of you, and you can stand your ground and you can stick up for yourself, because that's a huge confidence builder that makes you feel proud of yourself, and that that you can be scared, but you can also be there to support yourself. And I'm a huge advocate for that. I think part of being a man too is to be able to learn that in a way. Like, sometimes you're
be able to vocalize
this might be a little taboo,
so
but sometimes you might get fucked up. That's the reality. Sometimes the pendulum might not swing your way, and you have to be ready for that. And just knowing that that could be a potential possibility helps you formulate your words, try and speak as productively you can in a moment of just complete chaos, and just let the dice fall where they fall, let the cards fall where they fall, and just know that if I walk away right now from life, I feel good. I feel good with what I said. I feel good of how I handled myself. Sam Hersher went out in a blaze of glory. That's how I feel. Like it's life and
No,
death sometimes out here in the
yeah,
city.
yeah.
You never know what will happen.
And I'm still really, really, really trying to learn how to conduct myself in not an aggressive manner, because for me it's really hard to have patience with somebody who just said something horrible to you, to have patience and to be an adult and be able to use your words without saying fuck you, bro.
Because I think that's something that's different about me and you is that you're very subjective. You're very altered by criticism. You know, in the sense of when somebody's like says something very harsh to you, your logic and reasoning kind of go out the door.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
with
just formulate how I can hurt them, how bad and how deeply I can hurt them with my words. That's
Yeah.
just my go-to. And I'm obviously, like, I'm small, I'm 4'11", and I'm not any kind of like fighter out here. I know my place, and I really don't want to even start confrontation, even when people are being horrible to me. But the day before Thanksgiving,
like, because sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but like if that guy, if I would have like that guy would have stepped to me and he would have been like, you know, what the fuck is the problem? And I'm like, there's no problem. I try to get by. You spend a lot of time trying to talk to a girl, and I'm just trying to squeeze by to get home because I'm tired. I'm a little cold. I'm sweaty, and I just want to get out of these pants, just take a shower, and just like chill and just hang out and eat my lunch. And if he would have said like, oh shit, dude, I'm fucking sorry, man. I just fucking long day, man. Sorry about that. I'd be like, no worries, man. Like again, I'm sorry for bumping into your cart. Like that would have slipped like a dime.
yeah.
Like I would have been.
And I have no idea how you can do that, because once I'm angry, it's so hard to snap out of it.
But that's going back to like adoptive when the original question that we asked,
Yeah.
which is like, that's kind of why I said like, that's the difference to like, I can't speak for not being adopted because I was adopted. So it's like,
Yeah.
but for me and you, I guess from my experience of being adopted with you, I feel like, I'm answering like, I'm trying to answer a question within a question without telling you guys. That's why I've hesitated just now. But I know that some of these things that you struggle with is like being very critical to criticism, and how that can like blind you from the conclusion of a disagreement or an argument.
Yeah.
Because it is hard. It is hard sometimes when you're in the heat of the moment and you're telling me something that I did wrong. And it is really hard for me to accept it, but I do. And I say, no, you're right about that. Okay, no, you're right about that. But it's hard. It's freaking, you think that might, you know, for maybe for just me and you, just on the record for me and you, it is really hard to kind of admit that I'm wrong.
But you're really good at it, and like that's what I appreciate. And kind of going back to being in a relationship with an adoptee, I really like that you brought up in the beginning that it's nice because we both have brown skin, but the second we open our mouth, you know, we're considered white, and it has its pros and cons. Like I've gotten pretty much every single job because of that, and people at my first job here, they told me that I was just a color hire, and that, I mean, yes, it's offensive. I was only there for a few months. I knew I was going to leave that job the second I accepted it. So it was just like, it is what it is. I'm
You
not
use
gonna make
me, I
a-
use you.
Yeah, I mean, I got paid, so I'm not going to make a fuss out of it. It was what it was. Like, I'm not going to go protest their name. It is what it is. Like, anyways. So yeah, I really like that point that you brought up. What I was going to say about the day before Thanksgiving, I was having all these tooth problems, and I had to see like all these dentists and different kind of specialists. And I was biking home, and sorry, just like picturing it in my head. Because of Macy's Day Parade, all of the streets are blocked off, and there's the police presence. It felt like there was a terrorist attack. Like I shouldn't say that because I've never been here for one, but it literally, the amount of cops, I've never seen that amount of cops out blocking streets at every single corner. Like, it was the most ridiculous thing. And I had to take that appointment. I didn't want to leave because I knew that it was going to be crazy, but anyways, I did. So then I was trying to turn off on the street, and I couldn't because it was blocked. So I had to go on the sidewalk for a little bit. And I had an e-bike, and I was going very slow because I understood that there's a lot of people walking and going to and from. And this one guy starts screaming at me about like how I'm a piece of shit because I'm biking on the sidewalk, or you know, maybe he didn't even call me a piece of shit. Maybe he just yelled at me because I was biking, but I took it OD. And he said that I was hitting somebody. Like, you just hit somebody. Like, you're going to hit somebody. He just kept going back and forth. And I got really tight. And I tried for a split second to think like you. Damn, you know what's really fucked up? Is that I'm sitting here, like, talking about this story, still kind of justifying it to myself, what he said. He might not have been as, like, detrimental or mean as how I'm like remembering it. And I guess, like, I'm just understanding that that's such a big flaw for me, is like, he could have just been like, yo, don't hurt or don't hit anybody, like, you shouldn't be on your bike. But to me, I took it OD because I was already aware of that. I was going slow, and when he kept yelling at me, I was just like, please, like, in my head, don't yell at me, like, I understand. And when he didn't let up, I got off my bike. There's so many people there, so I'm very embarrassed by this. Like, I am not proud of this. I'm just giving you an example of, like, the difference between Sam and me, and, like, how I have a really hard time vocalizing and being patient and articulate. I got off my bike and I sit next to him and I walked with him, and I said, I was screaming actually at him because he was screaming at me. We were both going at it, and I was like, did I hit somebody? And he's like, no, but you're gonna. I said, but did I hit somebody? Like, I did not let off the gas. Like, I'm just walking with him at this point. He's scared, and he's like kind of trying to backtrack a little bit, and I'm just going at his pace. And I eventually said, like, I bet you didn't think I was gonna get off my bike and walk with you down this entire block, because this is a New York City block. This isn't like your little cul-de-sac block. This is a New York City block. It's a long walk. And he said, no, I didn't expect that. And then I started, you know, saying, like, I told him to go tell the cop. Told him, I was like, why don't you go talk to that pretty boy right there? Why don't you tell him? Why don't you get me in trouble? Like, I just started saying, like, really low shit. And it is just, like, unacceptable. And I just don't have a chill when it comes to that. And I don't know. It's like, it's hard. And so it's really hard to be in the city when you have a mouth on you and, like, there's no reason for it. And you have, like, so much built up anger that you still need to deal with. And I'm glad that I do have you to help me through that, because I would have never gotten off my bike. Like, I tried so hard to think of you. I was like, what would have Sam done? And I was like, he would have tried to have a conversation. But I couldn't have that. I tried to have a conversation, but I was just more yelling. And it was just really, like, it was a bummer.
Yeah, you live and learn.
Yeah.
At least.
But the one thing I guess I was a little tiny bit, like, glad at myself is that I didn't just turn around and say, hey, fuck you, and just keep going, because I did feel badly that he was screaming at me. I didn't, however, articulate that, and if I were to go back, I would have just said, hey, like, I don't appreciate you screaming at me, because I did think of that. I understand that there's people going by, and I'm going as slow as I possibly can. I need to get home on time because I'm literally about to miss this meeting, and I'm late, and I'm, like, panicked, and you screaming isn't helping me. I'm not going to hit anybody. Like, obviously that's
like the best case scenario. What I would have done is, if I'm very good at, like, acknowledging somebody's attention without acknowledging it until they literally they're literally waving in my face. I do it a lot at the gym, because I'm not one. I hate so much when somebody's grabbing somebody else's attention and I look like as if it's my attention. And I know too that once I look at somebody in the eye and they know that they have my attention, whatever it is, whether it's to me or to somebody else, like, they have it, and they can say whatever they want. But if I never acknowledge them, they never know that I know that what they're saying, if they need to say anything to me.
Unless they come and until they come up to you and say it.
And I can see it out of the corner of my eye if they walk over, so I'm prepared. Like, sometimes somebody's like, hey, and then waves in my face. Hey, are you done with that machine? Doesn't even look at them. Yeah. Just because, like, I'm so, like, in defensive, because the gym is something completely different. There's a lot of like meatheads in there that, like, I like I just get rubbed. I don't like I don't like big muscular dudes who are fucking bullies. I'll just say that. And
There's a lot of
I will
bullies at
step
the
to
gym.
every motherfucker who steps to somebody else who steps to me. You're not gonna like, you're not gonna scare me. I might not be the biggest guy, but you're not gonna fucking scare me. You're gonna have to swing. That's literally it. And you're just gonna get fucked up because not by me, but by fucking life and by the police who are gonna fucking come and gonna fucking cuff you, and you're gonna have to explain to your wife and your kids why you went to jail. So I'm not, I never gonna ever like throw hands. The only way I'll throw hands with somebody is if they're physically hurting my daughter or they're hurting you or my mom. Like that's the only
Or
time. Or Oreo. Yeah, I'm not afraid to drop kick a dog or curb stomp a dog. I don't give a fuck. The dogs are like, they're like, not anybody who's not Oreo or a dog that I know is like, I don't give a hell. I don't give a crap
Oreo
about
got
your
into
dog.
a fight with a boxer this weekend, and
I
the
still
boxer
hold
was
myself.
bigger than me, and it was like the most terrifying thing. I couldn't like, and I had two dogs with me. I had your mom's dog and Oreo, and it was like the fight had gotten broken up, and I had put the dogs in another gate, and that boxer got through that gate, and I thought that was it. Like I thought that.
I'm just happy I was there.
Yeah, I was. I don't know. I don't even know what I thought because
Was the boxer taking it like offensively?
he wanted to play. He just wanted to play. That's what the problem was. But Oreo, like,
did he have his nuts?
I didn't look.
Oh,
The
always gotta
problem
look.
was he literally like had literally Oreo went flying like a stuffed animal and landed on his back. And
Really?
Then, yeah, and then he realized like, oh God, this guy's for real. And then he started charging after him. But then there was a point where the boxer didn't think they were playing. And I don't know that dog, so I don't know if it can turn on and off like other dogs or, the mindset of that dog, behavior, anything. So when he jumped into that little pin area and got through that gate, I didn't know what to think. And she lunged on top of her dog and grabbed him so fast. So that's what kind of scared me a little bit too, because I was like, I don't even know what to think. Anyway, sorry, sidetracking, but kind of going back to the original question too. I don't really see any cons of dating an adoptee, other than probably the con, like with me, that you might see of me is I make things very complicated when it comes to my birth family and my adoptive family. Well, more so my birth family, because
And I wonder if that has anything to do with like a female and a male.
possibly. But I like to say this though too. You're very feminine, like as like angry and abrupt and like masculine. You kind of sound on the podcast sometimes. You're very emotional. Like that's what I love about you, is you're very in tune with your emotions and with other people's emotions, and you don't have a problem talking about them. Where I grew up in a state of like, we don't really talk about things too much. We kind of shove it under the rug. You're very like, okay, like let's sit down, like let's talk about it. Even if it gets really bad, we need to figure it out. And I'm not used to that. I'm used to getting up and slamming doors and leaving for days or whatever
Because
it
it
is.
helps me personally, like when we talked with your family and had that talk, like it helped me understand who your mom and dad are in a bigger spectrum of their entity. I don't know. Like, for instance, like
You saw them at a very,
I
very vulnerable
understand
state.
why your dad is the way he is in certain elements. It gave me a smaller insight into where he comes from in terms of maybe where his rage or his anger stems from, or like where his like frustration stems from. I understood that. I also understood where your mom comes from and how she tries to communicate and reciprocate different, tries to help your dad in her own way, and I can see the dynamics in them, and it just helps me understand. So it helps me not take certain things maybe personally or not personally, or maybe it helps me not, like, yeah, I think it's exactly that, like personally or not personally, because I can understand, oh, okay, like that makes sense, like he's worried about this, or he cares about that, or he says this because of that, like sometimes with me too, like I say things to you and you think that it's an attack on your soul, but I'm just trying to help, like have you be aware of it so you don't walk into some other situation and just completely butcher it because of your own perception of like who you are and why things transpired in that way that you didn't want it to.
Yeah.
Because and then I'd be like, well, it's because of how you are with this. You need to take a step back and blah, blah. But
Yeah. So it is really nice to have a partner who's more in tune and who can have these like really scary conversations. But I was going to say, I guess the kind of
and that's why it all is a full circle with my mom. And that's why I show my mom, my adopted family, the utmost loyalty than my birth family. Mine is my mom, because she's passed away, and she did the very selfless thing of giving me up to my birth mom. And without that action, that would have never, my life would have never transpired. So she is the exception to the rule. My birth mom, my adoptive mom, put me through years and years of therapy, of somebody always kind of telling me what it is that I need to work on or fix. And it was a lot of me kind of being like you, where I'm just like, whatever, all right, that's really not the problem. I think it's like, why you answer, like, why is my mom being like this? Why, like, it's my mom. And then somebody's like, finally, like, when I was in such a bad rut in my life, fighting this whole process of being critical of myself. I just specifically remember one day where the therapist was like, look, if you do not understand, if you do not wake up and understand that there are things about you that aren't working, and if you do not fix these things, you will not be able to go home again. This is your last chance. This is your last road. This is, you think this is shitty? Imagine not being able to go home after this whole process of being in a wilderness program. For people with like rage issues and like addiction and all this like stuff that adolescent kids deal with. And it finally clicked in me in terms of finally internally taking accountability for the reasons why my life wasn't the way I wanted it, why my mom was upset with me, why my teachers were upset with me, why I was failing, and reality struck and the buck stopped with me. But I almost had to die. So that rebirth of my conscience, my empathy, my understanding for life sparked anew. And that was maybe one of the main reasons why I was able to kind of be more critical of myself, and less like it's your fault and more it's my fault. I didn't say it better, or I could have done it better, because I can't control how you respond to me. If you say something that hurts me, it's not your fault. Like it's like, for like, well, it is your fault. Like, sorry, I'd have to put the situation in your hands and say it is your fault for the things that you said that hurt somebody else. You have to take accountability for that. But what I can take accountability for was my inability to express to you what was really going on well enough for you not to take offense or aggression towards it, and to kind of come and work with me on it. But if you were to take aggression towards it and work with me on it, that responsibility doesn't go away. I'm not going to say, well, it's my fault that you said that mean stuff to me. You said that, and that you're going to have to live with that. But I, on a personal level with myself, can say, well, what I could have done better, not excusing you, but what I could have done better was explain it to you in a different way. And so that's kind of like the catalyst of why I'm a lot more of a personal criticalness of myself and less of like other people who are negative or lash out at me.
Yeah, and kind of going back a little bit is, I think it's a little bit easier in that sense. I think another thing we learned kind of at that camp too was to make a decision a lot. I don't know, I don't want to say easier, but maybe quicker, especially because for me, I'll just speak on you for a second. For your birth family, they're kind of out of the picture for the most part. And you're okay to put your foot down and say, I really need to take care of my adoptive family first and my immediate family who I live with, pay those bills, figure out like those expenses, figure out how I can help them in all the ways I need to. Then I can come to you guys, and even if I have any kind of leftover, then I can help you guys. But your loyalty kind of is there, and that's where I think we kind of it's not that we don't disagree, but we kind of both have different stands on that. It's a lot easier for you to make a decision. For me, it's not
But
as
the thing is,
easy.
it's not easy at the end of the day, because at the end of the day, I too am aware of the empathy of other people. Like I have empathy for them. I can feel what they feel. I understand that they didn't have it as easy as I did. But that's when I reel it in, because that wasn't in my control. So I cannot feel guilty for that. The same reason why Tom Segura says
Bert?
that Tom, that's his name, not Bert.
Oh, I
Bert
thought
was
you were
there.
talking
I'm
about
talking
like both
about
of them.
Tom. I don't know. Bert, to me, Bert's very like, he's not confrontational, so I don't really respect him like that. But I respect Tom because of what he said, which is just kind of like the haters, Tom Segura, who kind of on his podcast, the haters who kind of like lash out at him when he talks about his fancy watches and says, well, stop gloating on your money. Not all of us can afford that. Where he's like, I'm sorry, but like, that's not my fucking problem. Like, you you guys just hate your life and you're just trying to make it worse for other people. But the cool thing is that you can always change your perspective, and you can always try and get yourself out of that situation. I'm not going to feel bad because made a bunch of great decisions and a lot of great life things happened to me kind of out of my control, and
I
that's
had
what
to
landed
work
me
for it.
here. I'm not gonna feel bad for that. So you can go fuck yourself. Like, that's kind of what he said. And I respect that, because for me too, it's like, I'm not going to feel bad for my birth family who didn't get it as well as me. I'm sorry, but I'm not. I have a lot of problems that I have to in my whole life, because my life isn't perfect, that I have to be there for my family, and I have to make risk calculated assessments. They do it all the time in the military. Military makes very calculated decisions that potentially hurt a lot of people, but they do it because it is a calculated decision, and they're doing it to save as much as they can from them. And they can't win it all. They can't. I can't win it all, but like I was saying earlier, I go with what I know, like the knowns. My mom has been there my whole life. She's been there through everything. Blood, sweat, and tears this woman poured into me. I know that, I know my birth mom gave me up. I know that, but what I don't know is how my brothers and sisters say that they miss me this whole time. That's great. Like, what am I going to say to you? Like, feeling horrible on you. I don't know. I'm trying to give an example. Saying that like, I love you, but I never did anything about it. What are you going to say that? Sorry, but I'm not going to not marry this man just because you started to come out of the woodwork
But I
saying
also
you
think
loved me
that
this
that's
whole
kind of
time.
like a way different, Sam, because like that is like a person who can speak the same language, and for them, like being kids, they didn't have a choice if they could keep you or not, or help take care of you or not. They had to let you go because their mom did. And if they did miss you this whole time, you're right, you can't do anything about it, but
But
they
it's not that I
also
can't
have the
do.
option to like come run after you and like be there for you when you needed a dad and like fill that role. Like, no, they couldn't have either. So I'm not saying feel
But
bad for them either.
but that's all hypothetical. That's all somebody else's. That's all somebody
No,
else's
but
opinion
you're
of you.
comparing it to like,
I'm
oh,
comparing
did
to
I
me
do
saying that
this
I
or not?
always like loved you, but I'm not gonna do or.
But what I'm just saying is that they didn't, like, maybe they. How do you also
I'm
know
sorry.
that they did or didn't?
No,
Like,
you're
have the
right. But the point
availability
is,
to do
that
that?
I don't know, and that
And
and
that's
I'm
what
not
helps
trying
you like
to.
make your
I distance
decisions.
myself. I don't know
And
that.
that is the difference between. That's like a big difference between me and you, is because I'm not. It's not that I'm. I try really hard to balance both of those things, like balance both of the birth family and my adoptive family, and there's nothing easy about that because there is a lot of hypothetical things. There is a lot of me asking for proof and documentation to make sure that my birth family isn't lying, and that does come with guilt, and that for me that does come with like, I question things a lot, and it's not as, and like I said, it's easy isn't the word. You know how to divide and conquer kind of your life and your situations and be able to go after it. And for me, I feel like I get stuck back a little bit because I'm thinking into these situations and I'm trying to help, when a lot of the time, probably 99.9% of the time, me helping my birth family is money. And it doesn't feel good. Can I go and live with them? Absolutely. I could do a lot of things, but I choose not to. And that's guilt in itself. That I'm still kind of battling and dealing with too. So I
Yeah,
think
that's
that's
like a
big
question
difference.
that, maybe adoptees can ask themselves. If you had a relatively like good childhood, good upbringing to a certain extent, like I have mine was good, but maybe I overindulged the good parts because there was a lot of not good parts, a lot of me and my mom not seeing eye to eye when we were little. I had to deal with a lot of rage issues that might have been because I was adopted. I wasn't necessarily good in school. I wasn't good at explaining my emotions, and my mom was there with me through all of it and helped me and got me the help that I needed. That took years, maybe even a decade or more of trying to, but she never gave up. And for that, like I asked myself too, like as somebody who is, who has two families, do you side with one or the other? And if not, why? And if you were to side with one, would it make you feel a little bit easier? And I'm not saying like siding with it, like you pick one and that's it. Like you're like, fuck that other one, but just understanding the priorities of like where they align in your life. Are they first or are they second? They're going to be in there, whether your birth family is first or second or your adopted family is first or second, they're still going to be there. They're not going anywhere. But which would be first and which would be second and why? Or would they both be equal and why? That's like my question, because to me, maybe you can help me understand, because to me, I see it so clearly. Like my adopted family is like my number one, because they were there for me. They took on the responsibility of being a parent for me for my entire life, through thick and thin, through better and for worse, they weren't the best, but they were there. And I feel that my birth family gave that responsibility up the moment that they let me go. And maybe that's kind of why I related it to like a relationship too. It's like the minute that like something went sour and then you kind of broke up, and then they kind of, you've always kind of wanted to get back, but you never really did enough or something, or felt bad and you want to get back with the person, and they were just like, well, I don't know, you didn't really make an effort and I'm not going to take you back, kind of. That's like, for me, it's like, that's where like the loyalty of the hierarchy, the dynamic of how like my mind operates in that sense.
Yeah.
And maybe it's like that because of like everything that's happened with like the situation recently with my, I guess, adoptive sister, because my mom and her best friend kind of were really close, and I kind of grew up with this other adoptive person in my life who so recently like kind of got in contact with her adoptive family, and it's just kind of making me rethink priorities and why my mom is number one in my life and why she comes first always, because of a decision that I feel my adoptive sister friend didn't, kind of is making a decision that's kind of opting in the other way. But I feel as though I can comment on that because I've seen her and I've watched her grow as I grew, and I know her background, and I know what her mom did for her, and to me it just kind of rubs me very wrong. But
yeah, so that's kind of in a nutshell the two different, not necessarily all the way different, but kind of mindsets, I would say, from like people who are adopted, and like how that works out in a relationship is like it's a game on. Just started. Game just started, guys.
It's all right. It's all right. I'm fine. I'm fine.
That's just kind of in a nutshell, kind of how I guess it differentiates, and so it is kind of a little hard to talk about like being in a relationship with an adoptee, like the pros and cons, because I'm not really sure what it's like to have like a serious, like a really good relationship with a non-adoptee, but I do like what you touched on, like the color of the skin. Is there anything else you can think of, like pros?
Just maybe like the lack of understanding potentially. I know that I was in a relationship with like another person who was brown like me, and they didn't necessarily share that same mindset of anger and frustration towards feeling judged, and not feeling like their skin color feeling very different. There was definitely a misunderstanding. We were completely on different pages a little bit with that.
Yeah.
And it was hard.
And I think like another thing I just thought,
and I'm just curious too, if like it was a white person too, would there be a misunderstanding with that as well? Of skin color and like,
maybe it's just harder to understand.
Yeah.
I was just thinking too,
because I might disagree with you, but I understand. Sorry.
All day. I was just thinking too is like I just forgot. But
Understanding different skin colors, not feeling like you were your skin color.
no.
Oh, well, yeah, it is a interesting dynamic. I'll say that, being in a relationship with an adoptee. A lot of pros, but there could be some cons as well. Maybe you know each other too well. I don't know. It kind of,
I think it's different too because we met at like 13.
it's like the more
So
you
we
think.
were like friends a lot before we were really quote unquote together.
Yeah. Could you imagine you just met?
I
That
don't
would
know.
change a lot,
That
no?
would change a lot. I feel like I'm a lot more understanding to some things before, because I knew like a lot of the things that you went through as a kid. So it kind of helped me understand where your mind was
Yeah.
and knowing kind of growing up with you. And we were just talking about this the other day. It is a little bit funny because at like 14, 15, our parents were just like, all right, get on a plane and go see this other person. Like me and Sam have been seeing each other since we were super young. Like our parents just let us go on a plane and see the other one for the weekend and nothing happened.
I
That's the
know.
funny
I
thing
just think of like if
too.
that was Maya, I'd be like, fuck no.
Yeah.
Kind of. But then again, I don't know. I mean, like, I'd have to, because like, I guess I know that as she gets older, there's certain things that I'm just going to have to, as a man, trust her. I'm just going to have to trust
As a
her.
parent, not like you always say, like as a man, like as a parent.
Well, because I think that men's relationships with their children are different than with women, and how they register their mind, especially with a daughter, can be different from a female as well. Same with the son and a son with a man and a son with a woman. Like maybe I feel like you might be a little bit more invested in him and caring about him more, and I'd be more on the fringes, being like, well, he's a boy, he'll work it out, and you'd be like, but he won't work it out. But I'll be like, but he will work it out. That kind of like in a nutshell of like just being different. And I think that's a great thing. Men and women should be different in their parenting styles, because together that will make them more dynamic as a parental unit.
Yeah.
And they were saying too the thing about like how men are better off caretakers than women, and as mothers and
there was
fathers.
like this research study that had been gone on, and it was talking about how sorry for the background noise. We live
Our
next
neighbors.
to, yeah, our neighbors. There was a study that I don't remember what the name or who had done it, but there was a TED Talk I think on it about how if a kid is by itself, and who would be better to take care of it, would it be like a single mom or a single dad? And research showed that it would be a single dad
Or a mom and dad together.
Yeah.
And
Versus a single mom.
yeah, because of just like self-esteem or something, I forget why.
Confidence.
Yeah. But I understand it. I think a mom always wants to, I don't know, be there more.
Everybody's different.
Yeah.
So it's hard to see.
But
that,
there's
like,
enough. There's
to see that
enough. There's
study
enough
through.
statistics that
Yeah.
show on an overall scale
Yeah.
that you're better off. You're going to be more productive being with a father or both parents. And I think a lot of that has to do with, as a man, a man particularly not necessarily being that like intrusive in a child's life, and kind of letting them be their own person, and kind of,
And I think that's another kind of cool thing too. Just talking about adoptees dating is like being able to understand kind of a little bit more maybe than somebody who's not adoptive is parenting. Because I think maybe less you, I'm not sure, but maybe you were critical of your mom and how she parented you as a kid, but I was very critical. So now I think of like the bad habits that I don't like that I do and that I saw my mom do, and I can step back and be like, do you remember when you were little and you used to tell your mom you're not your mom because she wasn't technically your mom, like she wasn't your birth mom, or that wasn't your dad because technically he's not your birth dad? Do you remember those things that they were doing that you didn't like, and now you're doing this, to Maya? And how can you adjust that? And I'm sure kids in general think that way, but maybe I'm just thinking of it because it's like something that was kind of seared in my brain maybe. But I guess that's kind of another cool thing. But yeah, going back to parenting styles and things too, that's like a good point.
Yeah, and maybe like a good example is like when Maya like lashes out at me, I don't necessarily take it personally. I do, it
When she
hurts,
was
but
little
like,
and she would kick you, shit would make me go off the walls. Like I'd have to walk away because that's like I
and I
could
think that's like comes
never.
with like a motherly approach, because a mother takes things very, very heartfelt to a certain extent, because but fathers do too, but it's like they're
I
equal, but
think
it's
you were
how we
able to
respond to it.
understand her, yeah, in a different way, in a different light,
Yeah,
because you also were a kid with rage, and so you could see it. I'm not sure
but you were too. You
that
saw
I
that.
still
You grew
couldn't.
up in that, right?
Yes, but you actually were the. I think mine was more figures above me, kind of showed me that way, and your mom was never like
But
that.
it's interesting
Your
how
mom
when
is
that
so
happened,
loving and
that
patient.
got you got so angry, right?
Hmm.
But then when you saw it happen with the adults, they got so angry.
And I couldn't do anything about it. Oh shit! What was that? Who just got a?
We did.
Oh, we got a.
But isn't that interesting though?
Why can't I think of that name? That's not a touchdown. Field goal.
And with me and my mom, but my mom was angry. My mom, a lot of times, she was very angry.
Yeah. She wasn't like punching holes through walls and breaking furniture and throwing shit or strangling people.
Yeah, but she would do a lot of things that would threaten me. That, you want me to be honest? She would get kitchen utensils and threaten to hurt me with them.
I can't see that. No, not that I don't believe you. I've just never seen her like
So
that.
I've seen that. I've been
Yeah.
threatened like that too. But I don't know how far that goes back. But all I remember is at the end, I fucked up. Like that's all I thought about, and I don't know
Yeah.
where that comes from. Was it just who I am as a product of since birth? But I always knew to, all right, I fucked up. Like I always knew, like at the end, don't bite the hand that feeds you. Like no matter how horrible it got, I always knew that sometimes when my mom put her foot down, I had to listen to her. And I wonder, like, I don't know. I feel like the more I try to like understand me, the more complicated it gets. Cause where does it go? Like same with you. Like where does that who you are come from?
I have no idea. All I know is that it's like
But at least you have a brother too. That you can see the correlations or the indifferences, because you weren't from their blood, but you were raised like them. And how similar, how close are you?
yeah. That makes sense. Damn, I had like so many things, and I can't think of them right now. But
Did you write them down?
no, it was just like as we were talking that I was
Oh.
gonna talk about. This is very distracting.
Sorry.
The TV's on like right in front of me. I'm like having a good time.
Sorry.
Like, Burger King's coming on, flashing. They're like going
Chicken
for,
sandwich,
like,
chicken sandwich.
like a touchdown over here, like running, and
Just
the Raiders
like
game is
completely
on. And
ADD with the mindset
yeah,
of just
it's
like,
definitely hard for me. But I know we didn't get into like it. I think it is really hard to talk about like dating adoptees, just because that's almost all we know to an extent.
and I think it's just too, at the bottom line, I think with adoption, there's a lot of baggage that comes with that. A lot of emotional like areas, I
Yeah.
feel like, as an adoptee. And when dating an adoptee, to understand that and to have the patience and the vocabulary to be prepared for that, I think is the most advice too I can give to potentially dating an adoptee. They're wonderful human beings. I think they see the life in very, very unique ways. And with that comes some baggage, some feelings of loss, some feelings of not feeling like they're understood,
Oh,
a lot of
that's where
anger,
it was.
yeah.
That's what I was thinking about earlier. Is like you understand that feeling almost of like being lost and feeling like you have to prove yourself to an extent. Like I was given this chance, like this one chance to bring my family for the first time, my lineage, my bloodline to the United States for the very first time. What am I going to do with that? And
Yeah.
I think I appreciate that because it gives me the push to do that as well, and to just understand that there's more, and with the last relationship I was in, there was nothing more. It was the 9 to 5, and then going to the gym for like 2 or 3 hours after work every day, and then just watching TV and eating dinner, and that was it. And there was nothing to strive for. And like, it's funny kind of saying this, like adoptee versus non-adoptee, because I'm sure different people who are or are not adopted have these same characteristics, or so it is kind of funny for me to like generalize. But yeah, it's an interesting concept, and I do appreciate the push to do more and be better and things like that. So
Yeah.
but I think we're gonna wrap it up here, because the game's on, and
My attention is slowly drifting. I'm sorry, guys. But I appreciate that question that was posed. It really made me think a lot more abstractly into my life and your life, and just talk about things that potentially were areas of struggle, right?
Yeah, and conflict a little bit sometimes.
And also things that we're good at, which is understanding, patience, seeing the world in a very, like for you, I think one of the things that you're very like passionate in the moment with your feelings. And I appreciate that, because I need to see, it's nice to see that. Like, for instance, you getting really mad at Maya because she's being like that with me. It's really nice to see that passion and that like understanding of the situation. Sometimes in a different way.
You also think like so low of yourself. You're like, it's cool. She just kicked me. It's cool. I probably deserved it. And I'm like, yo, you don't ever deserve that. But you understand where she's coming from.
Yeah, it's weird. I understand that I don't understand, like as somebody who has grown up in a split home.
Yeah.
A lot of feelings with that I do not understand, but all I can be there is like
be patient and
supportive and not taken personal. Yeah, because I know it's so fucked, right? It's like it's like you as a parent, you need to have one hand tied behind your back at all times, because whatever you do will hurt them 50 billion times harder than what they're hurting you with. So them saying like, I hate you, might hurt you fucking to death. But if you ever said that to them, oh my God, you will destroy their childhood.
They will
potentially
remember that for the rest of their lives.
Oh God, yeah.
Because I remember things that were said out of anger, and to this day, it's with me. But I've also been like strong enough to like talk to my parents about it too, which I'm super proud of. I'm like all smiley, because like when things were said, I did tell them down the line. I'm like, hey, you remember you said that? So like, I would never. And that's, no, you did. Like, oh my God, I can't believe it. But it's all right. We all learn and grow up from our mistakes. But yes, let's wrap it up here. And sorry I interrupted you.
No worries. No worries. I do that a lot with you, and I apologize. But yeah, no, I think this was a great talk. I think and if anyone has other topics that they would like us to share, we're totally open. No topic is unsafe or closed.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be about like adoption all the time. I was actually just like, sorry, let me just have like one more comment.
Yeah.
I keep trying to like close it up, but I was thinking about this the other day, is that I love talking about things related to being adopted, because we are adopted, but I also like talking about things that aren't necessarily about adoption too. Although sometimes we can always relate it, interweave these webs together, because that's a part of us. But I also just want to say that because you're adopted doesn't mean that your entire life has to be profound around that subject. Because I think for such a long time I was so obsessed with being adopted that and maybe this, you can take it as a positive thing. Like, you can be kind of obsessed or really like think your life is completely surrounded by that thought of being adopted. Maybe you can do positive things with it, but it really put me into a hole. Like, it was very detrimental to my mindset, and it made me just feel like I was completely lost all the time, every single time I thought about it, and it took control of my life. And it's okay if sometimes you just don't put all of your focus on that, and just say like, yes, I am adopted, but that's a part of me, and I'm also like an artist too. That's a part of me too. I'm also like an avid swimmer. That's a part of me. I also like to run. I also like to do these other things, and that doesn't need to be linked to me being adopted at all. But it's okay. And I guess that's just kind of what I was thinking about the other day too.
Yeah, no, it's interesting too, because like I find that like I try so hard not to tell people I'm adopted. I am just Sam. But I find myself so many times, like, maybe it is because I'm such a like deep person, that people want to know such interesting questions, like, so you're Jewish? But but that's very interesting. And I'm just like, all right. This all put things together. I'm adopted. No, oh, that makes so much sense. So it's like unwantingly kind of having to say it, but it's like, all right, whatever. Been this
Yeah, I
spiel
feel
before.
like sometimes I just like to use it because it's like an interesting topic. And when I feel like I don't know what else to talk about, I know what to talk about when it comes to being adopted. So it's just kind of like a conversation starter. But anyways, guys, let's just wrap it up and we will talk again next week.
Yep. Go Raiders! Woo!
So far it's 0-3, guys. Let's,
Yeah.
His mood will be based off if they win or lose. So let's just cross
Yeah,
our
so
fingers.
stay tuned for reactions later. Yeah.
See you next time.
All right. Peace.